My name is Chris, and today we're going a bit outside the norm with the McIntosh RS 150 wireless loudspeaker. Welcome to the Vinyl Attack. McIntosh Labs, without question, has emblazoned itself on just about every area of hi-fi you can imagine. From their legendary tube amps to the more recent return to the automotive audio sector, and even their increasing lineup of branded merchandise, they've stamped their name and logo firmly in the annals of history. And just about everywhere else, too. Of course, that hasn't been without some measure of dissent. For every person you'll find who likes a Macintosh product, you'll likely find at least one more who will tell you that it's nothing more than overpriced marketing. This doesn't really mean much in the hi-fi world, as our hobby is nothing if not rife with contentious opinions, so I generally advise that people just take things with a pinch of salt when it comes to unfettered advice. But when the opportunity arose to listen firsthand to the McIntosh RS 150 wireless speaker, I couldn't pass it up. Sure, it's not a standard type of hi-fi product and it doesn't do anything for vinyl playback, but I also simply don't see a lot of Mac stuff being reviewed here. This, in and of itself, is a temptation that's just too good to pass up. So what is the RS 150? As the name would suggest, it's a wireless speaker. Well, two-way speaker. It boasts a 5¼ long throw woofer that receives 90 watts of the available 120 watt output and a 20mm titanium domed fluid-filled tweeter that takes the remaining 30 watts. Why they mix these two measurement types of empirical metric is beyond me, but I can tell you that they cross over at 2000 Hz. On the outside, you'll find the classic Macintosh branding and design style, which includes the fantastic looking glass panel, the signature blue dB meter, the standard 2-knob layout, and of course the green illuminated logo. Does any of this have anything to do with its sound? Clearly not, but ask any Mac owner and they'll be happy to tell you that the look is certainly a part of the purchase decision. It also comes with a cloth grill cover that, in a rare occurrence, looks better on than off, in my opinion. But I'd said streaming, didn't I? Yes. Something you won't find on the RS 150 are inputs, at least not for anything other than Ethernet, a USB to update software, and a power cord. Everything this speaker does, it does with the aid of Bluetooth 5.0, Ethernet, and Wi-Fi. 802.11a, b, GN, and AC Wi-Fi, which I didn't even know was a thing, that handles multi-room streaming to be exact. This can be achieved through both 2.4 and 5 GHz routers. Using all of the aforementioned connectivity, you can then choose to stream your music with Bluetooth, Apple AirPlay, Google Chromecast, Spotify, and Tidal as your most popular options. The RS 150 is also room-ready and employs Qualcomm aptX HD and aptX low latency. It's my understanding, however, that even with aptX HD handy, an iPhone still can't send a high-res signal via Bluetooth. But I'm far from the authority on streaming. You'll want to look to John Darko for that. I also don't room, so I'm afraid I can't comment there, and I don't have Chromecast in my house. So what on earth did I do with the RS 150? Mainly I played Apple Music from my phone and then streamed Spotify and Tidal Hi-Fi Plus, which includes MQA, or Master Quality Audio. This is achieved by the RS 150 streaming the MQA files directly and not having them come from your phone or smart device, which simply acts as a remote control. Having played songs direct from my phone and then several MQA titles, I can say that I definitely heard a difference on this speaker. A very noticeable one is the RS 150 has a maximum audio resolution of 24-bit 192 kHz, which is a far cry from what you get with your smartphone. But even with all that capability, this is still a single-channel speaker, so you're going to get a mono sound no matter what source you choose. So how did that mono performance do? Without trying to sound insulting, much better than I'd anticipated. Yes, Macintosh is known for their amplification, so it would stand to reason that this speaker would have excellent performance, but looking at the simple setup with the grill off, it just didn't prepare me for the amount of sound that it could produce. I started with the Batman soundtrack composed by Michael Giacchino, and I was immediately put back in my seat as the texture and depth of the low notes in this performance hit me. The RS 150 claims a low frequency response of 48 Hz, which doesn't sound like it's that low, but it is, or it was here. Believe me when I say you're not ready for the bass response of this speaker. You think you are, but you're not. It was that impressive to hear such a hefty low end come from such a small, single speaker. Not to be outdone in the bass department by the Batman, Nine Inch Nails threw down the gauntlet with their song Down In It and its weighty low notes. Once again, I was in awe of the capabilities here, and I went back to the well more than once to enjoy it. Macintosh recommends a minimum distance of 2 inches from a wall to enable the rear port to function properly, but I found that I received the best sonic results with a distance of around 1 foot. The mids also perform admirably, as I found the airiness of Joe Satriani's guitar to be plentiful. With as many searing tones as you're likely to hear from one musician on display, nothing was lacking from the performance. There were clear highs and an overall balance that made this speaker flow well, even if it was only in a mono configuration. The breathy yet powerful vocal prowess of Norah Jones was easy to discern and easy on the ears. The slightly warm tone of the 150 made every genre I played through it not only palatable, but pleasurable. Her piano was bright up top and solid on the bottom, and the 150 had the ability to go plenty loud if concert-level listening is your thing. If you want to adjust the tone, I'm afraid you can only do this with the bass control option built into the volume knob by pressing and holding. But honestly, I don't know that you'd be unhappy with not being able to adjust anything else. There are other options that are achieved by various amounts of pressing and holding the controls, like the lighting, sleep mode, pausing and playing music, and setting up Bluetooth, and those are clearly listed in the printed manual that is included within. You also don't have to worry about the RS-150 moving around as you're pressing and rotating controls one-handed, as the 18.5-pound speaker isn't going anywhere. Add to that the impressive gloss black finish that is a McIntosh staple, and I'd say that it looks as good as it sounds. But indeed, there were some things that I found with the RS-150 that I didn't care for as much. So what were they? Interestingly enough, I feel that this question ties directly into another, which is, who is this speaker for? It is indeed what I would consider a niche market item. At $1,200 for what many might simply use as a Bluetooth speaker in their kitchen, it would seem that the target audience is simply the money crowd. I can already hear the McIntosh detractors claiming that this is their market all the time, but I'm going to leave that topic to you. Yes, you'll need some spare cash if you want the RS-150 in your home, and I'd caution you to think twice if you're simply going to use it as a Bluetooth speaker, but that's mainly because it's capable of being so much more. If you're a Roon user or title subscriber that regularly employs their MQA tracks, this speaker can and will make very good use of those tools. But you'll need to keep in mind that this is a single speaker setup. It does not do stereo, and adding a second speaker isn't going to achieve that. It would also be very cost prohibitive. You are able to add multiple speakers in a mono configuration with Apple AirPlay, but if stereo streaming is something in which you're more interested, I would direct you to look at the RS-250, which is a stereo speaker of a very different shape and price tag, but also includes the same features found in the 150 with a total of 650 watts. As it would happen, one of the nicest features on the RS-150 was also one of the drawbacks for me: fingerprints and dust. With its exceptionally polished gloss black finish, fingerprints and dust are going to happen, and when they do, be prepared to not get them all off. No amount of microfiber towels and Swiffer dust wands will ever get all the dust that can show up, and the prints are almost as bad. You'll just have to resign yourself to the fact that they'll be there, and you're going to have to live with it. I also took minor issue that this speaker, when powered down in its sleep state, can only be woken up by pressing the volume knob, not from a smart device. This is a very small issue that can be addressed by shutting the sleep mode off, but then the speaker is powered on all the time and will use the appropriate amount of electricity to maintain that state. Outside of those things, I think it may be of interest to that smaller niche market I'd mentioned earlier, and I'd encourage you to give one a listen if you have the chance. Will it match up against your two-channel system that costs roughly the same amount of money? Probably not. At least, not in stereo separation and imaging. But it is a single speaker solution after all. Will the tone of that single speaker compete with stereo setups costing roughly the same amount of money, however? Yes, I think it absolutely will. I personally wouldn't place the RS-150 very high on my list, but that's because I'm not the target audience for such a piece. I like streaming, I just like analog a whole lot more. For this item, you'll have to decide where your priorities and wallet lie. Thanks to my patrons on Patreon who help make these videos possible. Thanks to you for stopping by to watch, and I look forward to next time.